Comic Shane Gillis out at SNL.
Before he even appeared on the broadcast.
Dropping one of its new hires, 31-year-old stand-up comic Shane Gillis.
I don't think it's fair. I wouldn't want to be judged by one thing that I did. I would never do that to somebody.
I was poor. I was not famous at all.
You got canceled on the way.
I got canceled immediately.
In a comedy world currently filled with a ton of narcissism,
you only have what you have because of fans, so don't talk about us like that. Yeah, but you're still a loser.
A ton of noise, and a ton of egotistical self-praise.
Shut up. Shut up. I don't care.
The comedian's always like, bad luck. That's my job.
It can be frustrating to filter out talent from the gimmick.
When people go, why do you take your shirt off? That's what you do. Gets out of control, you rip your shirt off.
Fortunately, the only thing that really matters in comedy,
for me to like pontificate about comedy makes me feel uncomfortable,
is being funny.
If you join the army during active war, that's a medal. Technically, I'm a decorated veteran. I quit right away. I quit West Point right away, first month. Then, I got SNL. So technically, I'm a Division I football player that is a decorated veteran and was cast on Saturday Night Live. And I didn't do one of those things. But
Bill Burr, Bernie Mac, Patrice O'Neal, Norm Macdonald, and Dave Chappelle. These are examples of timeless figures in the world of comedy. Individuals who, despite facing their fair share of controversy, have stood stubbornly on their principles. Norm Macdonald could never stop himself from telling a joke.
He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
Patrice was unfiltered and imposing.
I love being able to say anything I want. 50 people laughing and 50 people horrified.
And Bernie Mac could turn almost any crowd in his favor.
I ain't scared of you, mother.
Burr and Chappelle are habitual button pushers.
It took us 400 years to figure out as a people that white people's weakness the whole time was kneeling during their national anthem.
I was making fun of the military, which you can't do now. Now you got to give like a standing ovation when they walk over to Delta, you know what I mean? Show that you're not in ISIS. Like, I don't know what you have to be doing.
Their influence is undeniable. All of these comedians have one major thing in common. They're all painfully themselves. There's an abundance of comedians today who seem to shift attitudes depending on the political climate. Post or say the wrong thing on social media and you might end up perpetually hounded.
I think I was #1 on Twitter for like 3 straight days.
Wow.
Of just getting eviscerated.
Did you read it all?
Oh, I read all of it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, everybody was like, stop reading comments. I still read comments. I read every comment.
Now, I don't think cancel culture is this massive boogeyman, but it's easy for collective outrage to blow way out of proportion.
I would have like dreams. I was having like nightmares about like articles and comments.
In the 90s and early 2000s, comedians were far less confined in their ability to be unfiltered. There weren't nearly as many repercussions to telling an edgy joke or discussing topics too taboo for the mainstream.
There are more people now who will let you know if they think you went over the line than ever before.
Don't I know it?
I mean, you have to feel the same way about comedy.
Yeah, but they keep moving the lines in for no reason.
There are comedians today that try to mimic this old style of comedy, but honestly, most of it seems to fall flat, but not without reason. The problem with causing controversy for the sake of controversy is that most of the time, it's noticeable and reeks of desperation. The most legendary comics got away with it. It was authentically them, and more importantly, it was funny.
I'm very rarely offended by anything I hear a comedian say because I don't
look,
take
if it's funny,
seriously.
I'm never offended.
Right.
Sometimes they're aggressively on target.
But I've seen a tweet from a fellow comic telling comics what jokes you shouldn't talk about this topic. Who the are you? It's like, there's already gonna be enough people doing that. You're gonna do like cannibalism now?
And at times they're painfully wrong.
Where was this?
It was at his house.
It was at my
podcast.
house in front of my children. Oh.
We had a shot
in a
before.
safe
We had a
place?
shot before we started. I had to empty out a capsule and put it into a shot.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. No one wants comedians to act like politicians. They don't want to be fed narratives perpetuated by corporate interests or be lectured on whatever the hot new take is. Comedians go from good to great when they're natural, unfiltered, unwavering storytellers. There are a number of comedians today who seem to meet the standard of legends past, teetering the cusp of well-deserved superstardom. But none have had a shift in public narrative quite quite like that of Shane Gillis. Social media used to hate this man.
So the news stories start coming out, and then what happens?
You just start getting like every tweet ever.
He was, all things considered, blackballed from mainstream comedy.
I believe that our country has become excessively punitive and vindictive about remarks that people find offensive, and that we need to try and move beyond that.
But it wasn't enough to keep Gillis on the show.
That's how I think it really gets you, is if you let it become who you are.
The kicker, though, is that it ended up being exactly the jumpstart he needed.
I noticed positives immediately.
Did you really?
Yeah, for sure. Like you go on stage and people are like, oh, this is
who this is.
This is a guy.
Oh, wow. So you went
I had zero. And then to like, oh, this guy's good.
Shane's stand-up is phenomenal. His Live in Austin special feels as if it's just you and a few friends in the room. He has this rare ability to resonate with the average person. What I mean by this is there are certain comics who love the smell of their own farts. They feel like they're the last pioneers of free speech. And while I'm a big advocate for free speech, it's not all that comedy's about. There are comedians like Anthony Jeselnik who have said some of the most vile, uncomfortable things ever uttered on a stage, yet he's unanimously praised in the comedy world. You can say dark or offensive things without parading yourself as a martyr. You just have to make your jokes funny. Shane is an expert at this sort of thing, approaching jokes in a friendly, often diffusing manner.
Also, I see you guys. Most of you have Fox News dads. How dare you deny your fathers?
His crowds are usually a mixed bag, yet he's able to quell the tension in the room even when discussing controversial topics like disability, current events, and politics. The room could be split right down the middle opinion-wise, and yet everyone would find themselves laughing. He's not purposely alienating a portion of the audience. He's not pushing a narrative. He's discussing topics that are controversial, sure, but Shane will discuss anything if he sees potential in the bit. Not to change anyone's mind, but simply to get a laugh.
And there's just a tiny fence between me and the handicap section. And I just stepped over it. No one batted an eye, dude. I was standing there just, dude, people were like looking at me like, checks out. Fully checks out.
What's more fascinating is the fact that he's exactly the same offstage as he is on. Shane can dish out on-stage level material in a casual podcast setting.
I have 40 plus systems in my house.
You do look like an adult Pokemon trainer.
He's got the same witty, on-the-fly sharpness as Bill Burr would on late night TV.
My wife is evidently some completed work, like under museum glass, and I'm like that building that has scaffolding around it for like 7 years.
He's a natural, and whenever he's in a podcast with other comedians, the attention seems to focus mostly on him. Because honestly, people aren't this naturally funny. Even comedians. He's able to consistently make even the most mundane situations entertaining.
I had to get woken up at 8 a.m. Dude, he pounds on the door like he's serving a warrant. Then I'm furious, and then my mom's yelling, Shane! She's like a cat, dude. She'll stand outside your door. Shane!
His stories are embellished a bit, sure, but outrageous hypotheticals are like the most common form of satire. A large portion of comedians just make up stories flat out, but Shane has an abundance of real-life experience to choose from. This may all seem wildly simple, but it's only because he makes it look that way. Yet, with all of this talent, he remains incredibly humble.
It's weird for me to rail against cancel culture, because I was a victim of it. And I don't want to be on the other side of it, where it's like, I'm a free speech guy. Dude, I don't want to be involved in any of this. I just want to do comedy.
A large portion of Shane's set is just him poking fun at himself.
That music across the street, dude, that fucking bothers me. I'm an old man now. Turn it down. Turn it down. What is that, rap?
Self-deprecation is one of the quickest ways to humanize yourself in front of the average person. It makes him that much more likable. This success is no mere coincidence. Shane Gillis is one of the most talented and creative comedians working today.
I don't know if you know this, every country song's just about exactly what a white guy's doing at that moment. It's like, I turn the radio up. It's like, yeah, yeah.
The guy has sprung from the ashes of a near career-destroying cancellation to not only succeed, but thrive. He's a regular on some of the most successful comedy podcasts, has 2 hilarious specials released within the last few years, and is now rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest names in comedy. Eventually, this guy will go from theaters to arenas, and in my humble opinion, be it the next 5 years or 20, would make a perfect addition to comedy's Hall of Fame.